To use AI or not to use AI? This is still an existential question for many PhD students. In what many have described as a standard setting strategic decision, the University of Oxford has recently announced that it will provide access to ChatGPT Edu for all staff and students. Some universities now have AI policies in place that encourage the ethical use of AI, but it is not always clear what this means for PhD students. As a PhD researcher who is expected to produce a publishable piece of research that contributes to knowledge, so what happens when these highly revered scholarship pursuits collides with artificial intelligence? For some, AI is a lifeline, as it helps in cutting through a vast number of academic papers, and for others, it is a threat to the very meaning of scholarship. If AI can read faster than you, write clearer than you, and analyze data in seconds, then what does this mean for you as a PhD student? Does your originality still matter? Or are we entering an era where the very idea of being a scholar is up for debate? In this episode of PhD Stories Unfiltered, we address the ethical dilemma of using AI as a doctoral student. Over the last few weeks, I sat down with two PhD students who, like many of you, are grappling with whether to use AI or not to use AI in their doctoral journeys. Yusuf Damilola Olaniyan is an ESRC funded PhD student at the University of Bath. And joining him is Mutiat Afolabi, who is also a PhD student at the University of Leicester, whose research investigates the ethical, legal, and social implications of whole genome sequencing. And together, we unpack the opportunities and dilemmas and futures of using AI in a PhD. PhD life is intense. From coding to literature reviews, many students are quietly turning to AI tools to manage their workload. Therefore, the right question to ask is not whether PhD students use AI, rather, how do they use AI in their everyday academic work? So, I asked my guests how they came about using.
AI. Well, I think my experience with generative AI that was 2020. Was it 2022, 2023? I can't remember, but that was when I was completing my Masters of Research because my PhD had a 1 year Masters of Research plus PhD. So when I was completing my Masters of Research, that was when the AI thing started coming out. So what made me aware of generative AI was there was an exam that I did. It was just there's this open book exam that we normally do. You just stay at the comfort of your home and you have the exam. So after the whole exam, there was this crazy formula that I forgot on that spot. So I forgot that formula and I submitted, but it was very painful. So and it was quantitative exam, which was my strength. So when you're overconfident, I forgot that formula and it was very painful. So immediately after the exam, I called one of my colleagues and I was like, "Hey, there was this formula that I forgot. How do you manage to recall that formula, blah, blah, blah?" And she told me, she was like, well, there's something that she used to kind of maneuver those things. I was like, what was that? She said, there's this thing coming up, AI and ChatGPT. Are you not aware of that? I said, what does that mean? So, so that's when I knew that, oh my goodness. Well, okay. So that was the first time I heard about ChatGPT. So I created an account that day and I was trying to explore and see. So I think I tried with few questions just to see the ability. Like, can you multiply this by this for me? Yes. And that's so simple as like, oh, correct. I tried another thing. I was like, oh my goodness, so this is so powerful. Can you generate this thing for me? And it gave me like in milliseconds, pow, the result. I was like, wow. So there is something like this, and I was just racking my head through this formula and the whole thing. So that was my first experience with ChatGPT or becoming to know about this generative AI. Yeah.
I just started my PhD, but I'd come in contact with generative AI before I started my PhD, which is around 2022. I think when I was working at the Welcome Sang, I was on a scheme then, and I think it was something that popped up on my phone when I was scrolling through a website or doing research, and there was this ad that came up, and I clicked on it. So then I'm trying to pinpoint it. It's either that or it was on LinkedIn where somebody posted something on it. Then I said, oh, what's this? I read more about it, downloaded the app, and I tried to play with it. So when I started using it, I was not doing like my PhD research, I was working. So I would use it for like editing of some things I'd written. It could be like an email, just do like a grammar check, or I could use it to like, coherence to my work because I did a little bit of teaching. So, like when you're trying to write a draft of an essay, then you're looking at, okay, is the coherence, is the grammar okay, and everything. So that was what I used it for from the start. But transitioning to my PhD now, like using ChatGPT would be me saying, let's say trying to use it. No, I've mentioned ChatGPT, an example of generative AI. It's me saying, okay, when I started my PhD, I had a lot of things to read. So I thought I could use it for summaries of literature. So by getting documents, uploading it to it and say, okay, can you summarize this particular document? And because my research is interdisciplinary, so I'm having to read on things that are science and I have a legal background. So sometimes I use it to help me break down those scientific terminologies that I don't understand. I'm like, oh, can you break this down? What does this really mean? So that way I'm not spending hours or days stuck on a scientific paper that is not my background. And it's able to help me do that. Although I still have stories on like the side effects of that. But yeah, that is just my own introduction or use of ChatGPT in my research.
When we talk about AI in the PhD journey, it's not just about ChatGPT. Across disciplines, PhD students are experimenting with a wide range of tools that reshape how research is done.
Well, I tried using Research Rabbit. Yeah, it worked a little bit, but it didn't really work. Because why it didn't work for me is someone recommended it to me saying, it helps with scientific papers when you're doing literature review. So it's kind of like, when you're doing literature review, you start with the literature, then you need to go to another literature. So it saves your time in terms of linking all the literature that are related to each other, and you can just like have them and have that tree that you can look into at once and then decide, okay, which one is relevant. So I don't know, probably because my field is a bit new, so I could not really get a lot of things out there, but it was a little bit helpful. So for somebody that wants to use it, Research Rabbit could be good for literature reviews. Then I tried using Quillbot. I don't know if you heard about it yet.
Yeah,
When I was working, I got given a discount to do like a feedback for them. So, and they gave me like a 2-year free premium use or something. So that was what got me into using it before the generative AI started. So by the time they added generative AI into their own website, so it was something that you could use it to, like, you have something you've written, you could just break it down and summarize it or bring out the key points from it, from what you've written. So I've used Scribot as well. Grammarly, I've used a little bit of Grammarly, but not so much because of the keyword subscription that I have. Then there's Otter AI. So when I do meetings, because as a PhD student, you're dealing with a lot of things. You're doing research, you're doing like conferences, you're still doing meetings and all those different things all at the same time. So I use that for summaries as well of when I'm doing audio meetings with people. So I know I have that note and I'm able to focus. So, and Teams as well, and Zoom AI. There are AI add-ons to Excel. There are AI add-ons to Zoom and Teams. So for Excel, when you're reading a paper on Excel, if you have the subscription, it tells you can just use AI to like have an interaction with that document and just say, okay, this is the questions that I need from it, and it points you out where you need to go immediately rather than wasting time. So those are the things those are the tools I've used for myself that I think are useful for my own field. I try to dabble in, I don't know if I would call this AI, because for me, I believe artificial intelligence is a really big area, not only the generative aspect of it. Because they were trying to teach for genomics and ethics, like you said, there was this training we had to do, and we about quantitative data analysis. So we had to do training on R for studio. I don't know if you do quantitative. I'm not really good with it, but they wanted us to get that training. And I feel that is in a way sort of artificial intelligence as well, because you're feeding the data into it and it's helping you, analyze it and just bring out an output, a result at the end. You're not the one doing all the work. It's just you putting the formulas and it does the work. So it's still a form of artificial intelligence, just in a different format.
Yeah, I think we share similar experience, and I'm gonna be starting from where she stopped, the R studio, the R analysis, because I do a lot of quantitative analysis, even though my research is qual, but I got some jobs that I do on my PhD as well, and I have some publications as well that I'm currently working on, and I'm using R for the analysis. So I complement R with ChatGPT because R has this crazy number of codes you need to write just to pull out some basic descriptive statistics. So with ChatGPT, you can just give this guy, can you just write the syntax for performing regression analysis? Blah. So this guy's just going to give you the code and just paste on the R Studio, and that does the job for you. So you don't have to cram the whole code. Back in the days where we had to cram the whole code of R and we had to master the whole thing about SPSS, this guy just tell you, just do this, and that, and that simplified the whole process. Because when I was doing my master's of research, I remember there was a particular course on R. Believe me, I couldn't pick up I couldn't learn anything from the class because it was as if they were just, they were just doing magic. So I couldn't comprehend
Exactly.
anything. But yeah, but with ChatGPT, I knew how to use it. I have the basic foundational knowledge, and with ChatGPT, I can just say, okay, this is my data. I have this number of columns. So what I don't advise people to do, because I use ChatGPT for our analysis. So let's say you have a thousands of data set, just give ChatGPT the name, like the structure of your data. Don't feed ChatGPT your entire data. Just give him like maybe the first five columns. This is what you have in your data. Let's say, for instance, I have this column that gender. In my gender, I have male, female, non-binary, blah blah blah. In my religion column, I have this. So let ChatGPT understand what you have from that data set, and feed ChatGPT, and it's going to give you that code, perfect code to analyze whatever you want, and that simplifies the whole process. So I think there's this one that I used when I was reviewing my literature, size space. There was size space, and then size space was part of ChatGPT. If you have access to ChatGPT, you have access to size space. It was like together, but I think now they've kind of separated the whole thing. I don't know what happened, but SciSpace is very good for literature review. So if you want to review literature, it gives you, um, if you just go there, just write, I want literature on, let's say, neoliberalization of higher education. So once you put it there, it's going to give you like five, or if I use the free version, the free version is going to give you like five papers on that particular issue. And from there, you can just say, okay, give me, there's TD, too long, don't read. Like a summary of the paper is going to give you, if you want the summary of the findings, the conclusion, the whatever, it's just going to give you that, and that kind of help the whole process of outsource looking for paper, reading. That simplify the whole process. But still, you still have to sit down and synthesize the whole thing because these things are not reliable at times. So, well, I think
Yeah.
ChatGPT, size space, those are like two things. So Grammarly, I think I've been using Grammarly even since when I was doing my master's in nothing, and that was even before ChatGPT. I've been using Grammarly.
Across disciplines, PhD students are experimenting with a wide range of tools that reshape how research is done. For writing and literature review, tools like ChatGPT, Claude AI, SciSpace can summarize dense articles and generate research questions, or even suggest relevant literature. And some even go further, such as Cite AI, Research Rabbit, PaperPower, to help in mapping citation networks and trace how ideas evolve over time. In data analysis, quantitative researchers are using AI-powered platforms like MATLAB with AI plugins, Python libraries with machine learning models, or RStudio, or even SPSS extensions to speed up complex computational analysis. But here's the dilemma. Where do we draw the line between using AI for support and outsourcing our intellectual labor? Should universities make it mandatory for academics to disclose their use of AI in theses and journal publications?
There are a lot of ethical dilemmas around using AI, especially in academics. Because one thing about academics is, there's this focus around the originality and the authorship, because that is what academics stand for. So you're the one producing it, you're the one thinking about your work, you're the one writing it. So that focus on that authorship is a really big deal, and which is why it makes, I think that is why people are still trying to navigate around, okay, what are these, how do we ethically use AI in academics? Should we even be using it? In my opinion, I think we can use it because it's almost becoming like AI is integrated in everything, like you said before. But it's then how do we then use it? How do we navigate using it in an ethical way? Because while using AI, personal experiences, you see issues of AI hallucinating information for you. Like I've had when I was trying to use it for a summary of documents, and I uploaded the document and I said, "Can you summarize this document for me?" It was a scientific paper, and let's understand it. Then I put like two documents, summarize the document for me. Then I went back to look at the document myself because I was skeptical about the output. Then, fortunately for me, thank God I went back to look at the document myself because, well, I guess I'm adapting Thomas. It's part of me. So I just like, this is not a person that has done this for me. So I still need to trust but verify. So I went through the document myself and I was looking at the points that ChatGPT had produced, and it wasn't what I wanted. And I felt this, then I went back to it and said, this information is not in this document. Where did you get it from? I'm just that kind of person. So, and it was like, oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for pointing that out. Then created another different thing and it was still not there. So I just got frustrated and I left it. So that made me understand like the limitations of what I could use it for. So which is why I now majorly stick to using it for editing of things. And sometimes when you use ChatGPT to edit your work, you need to also look at it again. Because sometimes it might have added something or removed a particular context from it. So it's me now learning to like be better at my prompts and saying, okay, when you are editing this, don't remove the context, don't change my words, just look at it for coherence. Okay, is the grammar correct? Like just me trying to tell it the step by step of what I want it to do, because it's taking a lot of testing, because it's sometimes I've had a lot of interaction with it, and to just sometimes change my work, add things I don't want it to add, or take what I really need from it that is important to my original contribution to what I'm trying to put down as part of my thesis. So it's those risks that come with ChatGPT. And another issue that I think comes with it is then there is this issue of something I've done research on, or I've tried to read about, people talking about, okay, the plagiarism risk. That we are putting your work in ChatGPT. What it's giving to you, is it going to be given the same thing and use that data for something else? So in a way, to navigate that, what I do is there's this temporary function on ChatGPT where you use the temporary function while interacting, it would not store that data and it would not use that data for training or anything they use it for if you are chatting normally. So when I need to do anything that has to do with my thesis, not general day life, maybe I'm trying to ask questions about how do I fix my TV or something. So those things that I know it's regarding to my academic work, I use the temporary function because I don't want it to store it on ChatGPT. I don't want it to be used to train. So that way I feel it's me trying to minimize the plagiarism issues that could come with using my work and taking it somewhere else or giving it to somebody else. So those are the dilemmas that I feel for now. But one thing that I could add is when it comes to in academic function, or to use AI or not to use AI. We could use AI. It's been really helpful for me when it comes to writer's blocks. Because sometimes, like you just sit in front of that empty screen, you don't know how to get started. So it's kind of like, oh, I'm trying to work on this. Like, having that, I feel I use it as having that second person to talk to, because there's a risk of me talking to somebody else in my field about my work, then they go do something on my work, so then it's no longer original to me. So it's me then thinking out loud, having somebody to think out loud with, okay, I'm trying to do this, how do I start? Then it tells me, then I use that information. So it's like it does this pushing you and say, okay, do you want us to talk about this more? Do you want us to do this next? I'm like, leave me alone, I have other things to do. But you have that person pushing you, like, sort of like your own personal assistant. I call it, when I tell people, I say I use it as my personal PA that I'm not paying for. So it's like I have that PA that helps me to, like, okay, when I have a thought in my head that I don't want to go away, maybe I'm in the bus or something, I don't have a pen, I just store it and, like, okay, this is what I'm trying to do, this is what I'm trying to go out, and I save that information. So it's been helpful for me. I think you can use that AI to help you, like a thinking box, like that companion when it comes to talking about things that you're trying to work on. But we should not absolutely depend on it to do the work, because there are a lot of flaws that comes with AI. Because AI is using the information that has been given to it to train it, then it generates information based on that. So if your PhD is about originality, then it's not going to be original if it's generating something. You as the author, you as the person doing the PhD will be the one to then use that information, think about it, navigate with it, look into it, verify as well. Then I think if we're able to work around that, then we will be saying we're ethically using AI. And
Yeah, you can't 100% rely on those things. You cannot outsource a cognitive task to these generative AI, especially. They're very fake sometimes. They hallucinate a lot as well, just like Scholar had said. And there's this thing about I think AI has the potential to become another digital colonizer. And regardless of how you tend to prompt, how you tend to, of course, you can tell AI, don't include M dashes, don't include these, blah blah blah, do these. But that also speaks directly to originality. So what counts as an original work, and who decides? These are the questions that we need to answer if you want to actually talk about what is ethical and what's not ethical. So there is a check. There is how you check AI writing. Even though I don't trust those platforms as well, because I've used them a couple of times.
yeah,
My work, my master's thesis that I've written like a few years ago, that even before AI, there was a section there I copied and I pasted it, and this crazy thing told me is AI generated. I was like, before you were even born. I had this writing before you were born. I think even for this whole prompting engineering and prompting, I don't think for social scientists, I don't think you can prompt your way out of the ethical issues around AI, because that issue of originality comes back. Are you the owner of whatever you prompted out to write, and how original and how authentic is that thing you're bringing out? And that also goes back to the university level as well. Who are the people who decides what counts as original? The AI generated knowledge count as original? How many percent of AI knowledge generated count as original? So these are the kind of conversations that I think universities are struggling to kind of, because I'm still waiting for me to submit my thesis and my university pro. I don't know to say your work is AI generated. So you then prove it, then prove. So that's where the whole conversation is. So who decides if it's AI? Is it machine that decide if my work is
The
AI
question,
generated or not?
therefore, is how do we pursue and measure originality in doctoral research in the age of artificial
again, social
intelligence?
scientists, should we now say everyone should involve in empirical data to now make your work original? Are we going to be
Yeah.
shifting away from the theoretical work to the empirical data work? So, which means they're going to see a total shift in how we do our things in social sciences compared to how the science do their own research. Then when we're looking at the originality, when before the old generative AI came, I was saying something about AI having its own different branches. We have the assistive AI, like which has always been here, like the
Yeah,
Grammarly before they had the generative function. When you
yeah.
write and you need it to do your grammar check, it's still using AI because it's helping you make your work better in a sense. But it's your original idea. You've done the original work. You've given it that context. So it still attributes itself to the person who wrote that work. It's almost like maybe not everyone will agree, but it's just my own opinion. It's almost like how before we had generative AI, ChatGPT helping you to edit your work, people paid for people to edit their work. Even like authors that write books, novels, and all that, you would write your first draft and you would give it to somebody, pay to the person to edit it. Before publishing, there'll be somebody who would write their name in front of it and say editor. That is what they get paid for. So maybe AI would then now reduce the work of those categories of people rather than wasting hours in the editing to just if AI had done
One
a
thing
little bit of
has
the
become
editing, then
clear:
you're spending
you
less time
can't
doing
completely
your
remove the human factor from research, no matter how powerful AI becomes. The real question is, can you humanize your way out of poorly generated AI content? Or will the flaws in AI reflect the limits of our own capacity?
It standardizes your work in a sense. When you put your work
Yeah.
into it and into a AI tool check, then it says your work is AI. Then you are scared, thinking, oh, when I submit this, and the school would say my work is AI. Let me humanize it. Then you put it in the humanizing function, and it looks totally like a primary school student has written the work. Then I'm like, this is not the standard in work. So,
What are universities really saying about AI? Many argue that its use in academia remains terra incognita, an uncharted terrain. Across the UK, institutions are still figuring out how to regulate it. Some have taken a hard stance, banning AI outright over the fears of academic collusion and plagiarism. Others allow cautious use under supervision, and many have yet to say anything at all. For PhD students, this silence only complicates the uncertainty and anxiety around AI use.
for University of Leicester, we have a guideline for use of AI, but it's more general, not they're not saying that this is for doctoral students or for bachelor students or master students. So it's like general use of AI, and they've done it in a traffic light system. So when it is red, when it is yellow, and when it is green. So I think when it is red is when you've been given an essay to work on and you've put the topic in ChatGPT, for example, that's produced all the work for you, and you just, copied and pasted it and submitted and said, "This is your work." Then, so I think that is the standard. They said that is red, so it's not your work. You've not done anything. You've not contributed to anything. Then said it is yellow if you've used it to, work with some data. So like both of you are doing the work. It has done the work. You've edited it and stuff like that. There are other rules. I can't really remember the details now. Then it is green if you've used it for like a body system kind of thing, where probably created an outline or something to work with, or where your lecturer specifically told you, okay, you can use AI to deal with this data to get this analysis. So kind of like encouraging the use of AI in some field and in some courses. So, but one thing I've noticed is for in social sciences, for PhD students, for instance, that traffic light system, I don't really see how it's going to be compatible, how it's going to be, 100% applicable to how we do our work. Maybe for those that are, in the basic sciences who majorly just deal with data, because even whatever they're going to be writing is going to be based on those data, like, the data analysis, the conclusion, the methodology. So AI is not really doing a lot of things there because the methodology will always be the same methodology. It's just going to be how it's been applied that's going to be different. But for example, my work is theoretical. I'm trying to do get empirical data as part of my work, but majorly I'm going to be reading literature. I'm going to be reading textbooks. I'm going to just doing a lot of comparative analysis here and there. So if I'm saying, okay, I'm using AI to do an outline to help me find the themes, it's still me, you know, putting the context out there and saying, okay, this is what I want. What have you produced for me? This is not right. I can decide to then throw it away. So where I've worked with it partially and I eventually don't use the output, there's this thing where they say when you read something, even though you don't remember, it could be years later and that idea would come back to you. You don't know where you picked it from. But originally, it's not yours, but it's something that you've read and it's just been a part of you. So if it has given me an idea, then I've developed that idea into something else. Or let's say it's told me, okay, you can, so for me to get to C, go through A, B. Then I've realized, oh, okay, based on my own human experiences, I don't need to go through A, B, C to get to C. There's a really more better way that would have better benefits and utility. And I said, okay, let me go through straight from D to C. So it's me getting that alternative way of thinking from AI that it's brought me that originality of, okay, this approach is better because I've experienced it, that critical angle that I'm bringing into it. So am I then saying, who will now then decide if I don't declare the use of AI in that sense? Because I feel it's my original work because I did not use what the AI is outsourced. So it's still what I'm, struggling with and trying to work around. But when it comes to something I was going to bring up, I don't know if you're going to talk about it later, is the acceptance of use of AI. So even if we are saying all these guidelines are coming out, you're saying if you use AI, declare it. So what is that cultural acceptance, institutional acceptance to the use of AI when it's been declared? If it's been declared, is there going to be a negativity attached to it? Have we gotten to that stage? Are we encouraging that transparency in the real sense, or are we just trying to pick on people that are using AI? So I think that is a really big issue that we still need to deal with as well.
But for University of Bath, I don't know if it is me that I'm not aware of any communication from them on how to use AI or the level of using AI. I don't know. I haven't gotten anything from them. But I think this acceptability of the thing, when AI started coming out, I think there is this reactionary response from the university instead of I think university should have been very critical and should be very, very reflective on their reactions. So it was more of them trying to win. They're trying to win someone who is already lost. Like, who is going to trust the university when you've already chastised them, when you've already said, don't use AI, using these, and the people who use AI, there is this, I don't know, there is this stigma attached to them, like they're just like Scholar said, they're less scholar. Oh, so do I declare that I used AI even when I've used AI? When some people actually believe that they can maneuver their way out of this AI writing style. So people are so perfect that they believe that they can write some prompt that would overhaul the whole sequence of the mechanical way of AI writing. There's this paper that I'm currently working on as well with my colleague. I think it has been submitted already, currently under consideration. It's about we ask series of questions from students from the global north and the global south about their experience using AI, and there is this whole conversation around helping them democratize knowledge. So democratization of knowledge is there because people from the global south believes that before the advent of AI, they don't have access to university, maybe paid email that can help them access different journals out there. But AI has come to democratize that they can easily access any kind of article. Before AI, there was Turnitin that checks people plagiarism level. So how and it's just very tricky.
But beyond using AI as an academic body or research assistant, deeper questions remain. Will AI assisted PhDs dilute the meaning of a PhD or a doctorate? Or could AI actually democratize research, especially for students in under resourced contexts? Or will AI reduce the amount of intellectual labor required to earn a PhD? And as these tools become much more integrated into research, are we going to be needing more regional ways to measure what truly counts as a significant contribution to knowledge?
The university needs to see it as a future, to see it as a reality and power of education. So you cannot, it's like a moving train. You cannot stop it. So the university needs to adjust and adapt. So if there is someone there in the university saying that we want to try as much as possible to say PhD students should not use AI or using AI is bad or something, I think it's a lost battle. I think it's a lost battle because human tend to um drift towards something that gives them comfort. Human being doesn't like, we don't, especially PhD. You're doing something for 3 years or 4 years. It's like a monotonous thing. You're doing it constant, especially sciences. You're writing, you're writing, you're writing. And this is something that can be your critical reader, critical writer, a critical reflection partner, or something like that. So I think university needs to come down with the powers and accept this reality. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that, well, in the future, I think what count as a literature review is going to be seriously questioned. It might not be our generation, it might be coming generation, but I think literature review aspect of PhD is going to come under serious scrutiny or debate in years to come because I do not see the Gen Zs writing thousands of literature reviews when they can use AI to look for the gap and understand what is out there. I don't know how it's going to be, but I think there is going to be a change in how we review literature. I think for me, these are the two things that I could think of that are very important.
Whether we like it or not, AI is going to reshape the future of doctoral education. in the sense of it's going to make that shift of, we would not, like you said, like Salava said, all this the repetitive work that you need to do in for you to get your PhD, you then, because AI is becoming advanced every day, like they are making changes every day. Between just this year alone, if you use ChatGPT, you see they've had like different versions. They've scrapped some of the versions, they are on a new one. Before you know it, they'll bring out new models. So they're always working on making it better. So I'm thinking 2 years, 3 years now, what we are even saying that, oh, we can determine where there's a divide between human and AI work, we will not even be able to know the differences. So it's going to become a standardized process where you'll be allowed to, if you're doing a PhD, your more repetitive work, like doing the literature review, for instance, trying to find what relevant literature that is needed for your own work, all those stress of, what you basically do in your first year would have been something that you can easily do within few weeks with AI. So that way, all those grunt work, to be a big cut and to be rendered seamless by AI. So that, like you said, we're going to have that reduction of the number of years that you need to do a PhD. Then there's going to be more focus on what are you bringing to it. Because if like you said, when you're doing the literature review, if AI has been able to help you identify the gaps, so it's not like, what do you then do with the gap? So that advantage of thinking will be expected from the human. So you doing the PhD, we're going to need more. It's going to be more technical, more. I don't want to say it's going to be more harder to get the PhD, but that standard is going to increase, because what you would normally be required to do, what the skills you are normally required to have to be able to identify the gaps in literature, to be able to come up with how to link them together, how to critically assess it. If AI can do it, then you need to be able to do something more. So the standard of originality is going to increase more. It's almost going to be like, when we're doing originality, I know you're the seniors in the PhD field, but there's this thing they were trying to tell us when I attended the training, like your originality in your PhD is not the larger aspect of it. It could be like a 2% of what you added to what you've contributed to academics. So that percentage is going to increase, because all the things you found that you brought to the table, AI could easily find it in a blink of an eye. So there'll be higher standards on your originality, higher standards on your critical judgment. And I believe that it will get to a stage where, as part of your training to do a PhD, you would have to have that AI skills. So
Yeah.
it's going to be something they're going to add to doctoral education and say, okay, do you have AI skills? Can you really utilize AI? Something they do for people that are in sciences now, where can they use AI to analyze data? So then it's going to move like that into the social sciences. Okay, I would say you can use AI to help you in your thinking, to help you standardize your thinking like that. I, I wouldn't say like I said, the way I just finished my first year, and the way I've used AI in this first year is in a way to help me like stabilize my thinking on what I'm doing, and to help me find that focus. So I'm already going down that cat route, and I'm thinking, okay, like, am I falling into a trap? So I use AI to, that thinking box to think about what I'm doing, what I'm researching, how do I want to focus my work, and then I ask questions from AI. When I know, I guess what I would say is, you can use AI for your work if you are doing your PhD, you're in your first year, but don't rely on AI, because if you rely on it too much, you're going to find out that you'll be making a lot of mistakes. It's going to affect you down the line, because it's going to make you lazy. So one thing I do is, when I'm using the AI, I still go out there to find the materials myself, to have a read of the materials myself. Then now question AI based on what I've read. So it's me doing the thinking, it's me being in charge, not putting AI in charge. Yeah. So okay, I'll say the one thing I will tell you is, use AI, but still be in charge of your work. Don't over
Yeah.
rely on it. Yes.
No, don't depend on AI. Don't outsource your cognitive task to AI. See it as a knowledge democratizer. It's going to help you to democratize a lot of things, because as a PhD student first year, you definitely come across some big concepts, big terminologies and grammars and theories that you need to simplify, that you might have to read a lot of things to get those things, to get to understand those things. You can use AI to kind of understand those things, access a lot of resources that might be very difficult for you to find if you want to be exploring Google Scholars and different databases. But when you leverage AI as a knowledge democratizer, that would speed up the whole process for you. I think that you can use AI for, but you should also be careful. Like I mentioned earlier, you could become colonized by AI. So if you're not careful, you can become colonized by AI. So that's another form of colonization that people are not really talking about. But
As you can see, maybe the real question isn't whether AI is a friend or a foe. It's whether doctoral students, supervisors, and institutions can adapt and build a culture grounded in honesty, reflexivity, and fairness. Because if you think about it, the PhD isn't just about producing a thesis or a publishable piece of research. It's about producing scholars. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Academic Village. And I'll see you on the flip side.